Yeah, so pronouns everybody. Okay. So today was the last day from here, retreat. So I thought I'll do this session because I am getting these messages, the one from there. Signal ka issue tha, but I think now it's okay. We'll do that. If not, I have some verses from here. Actually, I'm continuously doing some verses from Chidakasha as an on. I had taken a last verse just before dinner. So I'll just continue. If you have any questions, you can ask. Anything regarding the path or anything regarding this session, anything regarding Ganesh Puri, anything regarding Chidakasha Gita, if you have anything, you can ask. Oh, Bhageshi, you got a number, right? Doctor's number? Send her a message. Send her a message. I think she's busy. She'll call you back. Renia, how are you? Health now okay? സുഖമാണോ അപ്പ? ഇതെന്താ മുടിയൊക്കെ ഇങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കുന്നത്? അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്തോളൂ.
ഒരു കയ്യില്
എന്ത് പറ്റി?
വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇത് IV കയറ്റാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ളത്,
ഓ,
ആന്റിബയോട്ടിക്
ഡ്രിപ്പ് തുടങ്ങിയോ?
അത് നാളത്തേക്കും കൂടി ഉണ്ട്. ഇന്നിപ്പോ
പക്ഷെ
ഡിസ്ചാർജ് ആയി.
പറഞ്ഞോ, കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞോ?
പനി കുറഞ്ഞു.
ഇല്ല, എന്താ സംഭവം? ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ്റെ അല്ലേ?
വൈറൽ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ തന്നെ.
അത് കുഴപ്പമില്ല, അത് പോയിക്കോളും.
ഇപ്പൊ 2 ദിവസമായിട്ട് ഉണ്ട്. അഖിലേട്ടപ്പ വരും. മോനെ എടുത്തിട്ട് വരും. മോനും ചെറിയൊരു
കുഴപ്പമില്ല. ഓക്കെ, നോ പ്രോബ്ലം. Okay, I think I'll just go on. The Chidakasha Gita is not yet ended. Whoever is meant to be discussed with it is there. Yesterday, today. So I'll continue with this. You guys also, if you all are awake, you can listen. तो तंद्रा की अवस्था में सुनो. Annie? Yes. It's okay. Lie down. So this is 268. We had just stopped. Where were we? We were telling that the fruit is according to internal faith of man. And we are talking about how Nityananda is telling here, Jiva is like a bird in a cage. The body is the cage. When the nest is ruined, the bird flies away and builds a new nest within a month, or within a few days, or within a few months. So that is where we had stopped. So he's talking about the Atman that flies out of the body. That is me only, we only. And come, back here. So nest is talking about the body only. But what he's telling is once one leaves the body, you can take rebirth within a month, within a few days, or within few minutes. So we were discussing on that only. What makes us come in a few minutes, and what makes us come in a few hours, or what makes us come back in months or years or decades or even centuries. Vasanas are there, but on what we have been illuminating all the time during lifetime, what has been our main focus on, where our awareness was all the time, that becomes more active during the time of death. So that automatically comes, and then that stays in your awareness, and that becomes the cause of your next birth. Because the emotions, feelings, like what we discussed, that state of Paravan, the body, feelings, and things like that, you are in that state, vibrational state, no thoughts, nothing, like you are vibrating at that level of those vasanas, whatever you feel, think, and all that. So that becomes the cause automatically. So if it is too intense, something very intense related to bhoga, related to the lower nature, lower vasanas, and if it becomes too hyper, because once you leave the body, it multiplies many number of times. So what do you feel right now? That emotion, maybe intense emotion of fear or intense emotion of anger, it just multiplies multiple times. So you can imagine right now, if you're feeling angry, And when you're leaving the body, because the whole energy and concentration and awareness comes to that. Right now it's scattered, so we don't understand it. Anger has little percentage. But that 20-second window when you're passing out, the whole awareness comes there. It focuses on that. So that gives it that kind of a, power. And that when it is too powerful, there is no awareness. It's just a deep impulse. The desire is there to just go and get it. So if it is an anger, you just want to release that anger in some way on something, someone. So probably you'll get into a snake, because that's the fastest way you can get into a snake and get back in revenge. Go and strike. If you are too much fond of eating stuff, and if that vasana becomes strong, then you might get into a hen or a pig, things like that. So it is very automatic depending on how much awareness is there. If there is unconsciousness, awareness, intellect, or that awareness to even understand whether this is right or wrong, it's just an impulse. So that is what is meant by you can take birth in a few minutes, few days, few months, years, whatever. A man can attain supreme bliss within 5 minutes or 6 months. It depends on his efforts. Before that, he says about the bird flying, he says, likewise, when the Atman leaves the body, he takes a new one. When and where, he only knows, he says. So it's completely dependent on them. What he's telling in the start is the fruit is according to the internal faith. God does not favor the one. God is not involved in all these things. God does not decide where you're going to go and all those things. It's me. That's what he's saying here. When and where, he only knows. So here again, what we have been discussing in this whole retreat is the whole thing comes back on us. It's about me, how I work out, how I become aware, so that, and I work out my whole um, destiny. I work out my own salvation. I work out my own Shakti path. I work out my own grace. Everything is here. I am the generator because I am Shiva. So we discussed that today about Shiva Sutras. How when I am Shiva, the whole thing, this creation, sustenance, destruction, and that forgetfulness, I forget that I am Shiva. It's all the nature of Shiva. And the grace that I generate so that I can remember back, to go back. It all depends where and when, he only knows, he says. So at the same time, he's saying the other also. Now he's talking about being stuck. Now he's talking ulta, the opposite. A man can attain supreme bliss within 5 minutes or 6 months. You can attain next birth, 5 minutes or 6 months, or you can attain supreme bliss, 5 minutes or 6 months. So it all depends on your efforts, he writes. It all depends on his efforts. So effort for bondage is mine, effort for liberation is mine. It can be 5 minutes or 6 months. He's talking about salvation. We can make it earlier, easier, or we can make it tough. So how do we make it tough or how do we make it easier? Tough is if your other priorities are too much, Vishaya vasanas, and if it is Sadvasana, it will be the opposite. Because Sadvasana means you are having a top priority of that only in life. You are putting all your efforts to attain salvation. That is what he means by it depends on his efforts. Then beautifully he says here, 268, for Vairagya to be steady and permanent, sadhana is necessary. Vairagya, practice is necessary, he says. Vairagya means dispassion. Vairagya from what? Whatever is outward. Disinterest in what is outside. Samsara. Just a reminder, Bhagwan says samsara means the forest path, jungle marg. And the opposite of that is royal road, he says. So whole Chidakasha Gita is just focusing again and again, catch the royal road, leave the forest path, catch the royal road, leave the forest path. This message continues. So this whole thing, if you see, Chidakasha Gita is actually about withdrawing from the samsara. I have never found any single verse in this which talks even one sentence about your maintenance in the samsara. That's Chidakasha Gita. So Bhagwan Nityananda, if you see his life, if you see his activities here, he was only blessing people with the world and things like that and all that. But this is his real teaching. Now he never taught Chidakasha Gita sitting here in Ganeshpuri to anybody. At least on record, there is no record where he has taught these teachings here. He only spoke to Tulsi Amma in Mangalore, Karnataka, and that is where she recorded the whole thing and it became a book, and he even approved the book. He said, publish as it is, no problem. But then he left it behind and he walked. And after that, there's no mention anywhere about Chidakasha Gita. Then he went on doing his miracles. Then he came here, all these places, Mumbai, Akloli, Vajreshwari, Ganeshpuri, and he settled on here. After he settled down, I see absolutely, I've never seen any records where he's sitting and talking to anybody about Chidakasha Gita teachings, anything like these. Most of the time in Ganeshpuri, he spent with people giving darshans, giving gifts, teaching them bhakti, teaching them to chant, even telling them to take palki and things like that, because the ignorance was at peak here. People cannot understand these things here. Illiteracy and absolute people from the village and fishermen and things like that, hunters. What will they understand this? So he was busy developing them in whatever way he could, handling the children, sending out message from his practical life, so many different ways. So he was busy in that. And whoever came to Ganeshpuri to meet him, to have darshan or whatever, of course they didn't come to have darshan. Most of the public, or almost all the public, for seeking for self-realization. There were many yogis, there were many masters who came. Obviously, they know about it. So apart from the other mystics, the general public often came for their worldly gifts. And Nityananda never denied them. He gave it to them. But if you see Chidakasha, it's hardcore no. If you see the Chidakasha, there he talks nothing about this world or maintenance. But here he was completely maintaining. Why? Because he used to always believe that, he used to always say that until you feed a hungry, that hungry person can never seek something that is higher than that. He is busy with his hunger. He is desperate to be content first for his gross needs. So Bhagavan always blessed everybody with the gross, so that one day they realize somewhere that the contentment they'll not get there. So they start seeking something higher. I think that is how probably felt that once they seek higher, then they become eligible for this. Without that, nobody can understand this. Imagine somebody coming and talking about poverty and how to sustain his poor family and children, and he talking about Vairagya and positive. So he was very practical on that aspect. But then, as far as my understanding goes from all these things, when he never taught Chidakasha anywhere to anybody, the question is then why did he leave it back as a set of teachings in this book? To my understanding, I can see that he knew that the right people would get it. Even if he's there in the body, not there in the body, he left behind his teaching for the deserving. Otherwise, you see, there is no meaning in all that. Never did he ask the books to be spread here in Ganeshpuri. Never did he distribute these books. No, it remained very hidden. Not really hidden, but if you search for it, you would have got it. So I believe that's how, after 1961, this book is still doing its rounds in whatever way with different versions. I don't know, many modifications and things like that. So I always like to catch the oldest copy because I've seen some edits thing happening here. So that's how it can get little contaminated. Maybe not the intention of the editor, they are trying to make it better. But these are not books to be read by the mind, like you read books grammatically. These are words that is deliberately left without grammar, because these are books you have to meditate upon. These cannot be just read and taught. So whenever I've seen with even other books, whenever any Mahatma twists and writes the text, like there are so many texts that rishis have written. Like for example, Tirumandiram, written by Siddha Tirumoolar. All the great secrets of one's prana and one's body, breath, and all that stuff. If you read the Tirumandiram, it's got all the secrets, but it's so much of poetry, you cannot understand even one verse. So there is a reason why they twist and turn, or why they leave it raw, because they want those who can decode it and get into it. So Tirumandaram also is a book that needs to be meditated upon. It cannot be read by the mind. That is why if you pick up a copy of Chidakasha Gita, you will not be interested in it. Even if you read a few verses, you lose interest. Because there is nothing interesting to stimulate this mind intellect. According to our vasanas, there is nothing very stimulating here. This comes when all our stimulation and entertainment of life somewhere disappears. Then you become interested in the subtle. Then these topics become valid. So 268, because this whole book is about actually Vairagya sort of. Because when he's constantly telling, leave the forest path and catch the royal road, that itself is Vairagya. Because until you have dispassion towards the world, you cannot move on the royal path. And Nityananda makes it very clear. You cannot move in both the direction. He says it is one. Either downward, which is forest path, downward means towards the world, samsara, or it is reverse, in the opposite direction, towards mukti, royal path. He calls that the royal path. And he calls it forest. Why? Because it's jungle. Jungle means once you go in, you can get lost in there. Simply get lost in there. So he's talking, these are both opposites. And when you have opposites, it's very difficult for you to have a steady balance. You're lost. And that's why I keep on saying again and again what we have heard and listened all this while, that it's very easy to remain in samsara and get mukti. It's not very practical and it's not very easy, because if you want to be in samsara and attain mukti, then the only way out is to have such high awareness that you float on samsara. That's the only middle way. Otherwise, it's simply the opposite direction. Vairagya and moving straight towards enlightenment. For those whom it is not possible, for whatever reasons, so-called responsibilities and this and that, duties and all that, then it is a must that you must develop awareness so that you can at least float. Otherwise, it's a forest. You will be lost. There are all kind of beasts in that forest. That's why it's called forest path. The other meaning is pashu, forest who lives, animals. Your pashu bhava will increase and it will give you more of punarpi janmam, punarpi mar. So just I gave you a basic understanding. So you might not understand suddenly what is Vairagya and all that coming from. So it's coming from this whole understanding. That's a briefing about Nityananda's work of Chidakasha. So we have been contemplating on Chidakasha because people are there from all walks of life here, from different countries they've come and they're in the world also. So we cannot be just Vairagya, Niklo. So we are talking more of awareness, how we can. I believe that's a very good question. So that you can slowly develop yourself at the same time finish up whatever you are and then get out of it. But we are reading this to understand the intensity of self-realization because many wrong myths are there about self-realization. So I'll be putting this on YouTube anyways. So the wrong myths, like for example, you be in the world and you continue with your desires and you keep meditating, you'll attain mukti. I personally don't believe in that. And there is a lot of backing that I can give why I don't believe in it. Experientially, it's not possible. I don't find it. I didn't see it. Because the more you're in this world and you meditate half an hour, 1 hour, it's nothing. What is more takes over. And these vasanas and the worldly instincts are like those fires that you can see that's affecting our world here, how it destroys and how rapidly it spreads. It looks like an innocent small fire. Where does that fire start from? One matchstick is enough to bring havoc in this whole world. One flame. So we cannot take this flame for granted. It's very risky. When you are in the world, it's very, very risky to catch this. And you might say it's just a flame, it's okay. So when you're in the world, you can have multiple dots, chota chota, little flames. But you do not know when the winds of desire will blow and ablaze it into a fire. That's the risk of even you can see so many mystics talking easy in one janam when you in one birth, whenever you have an opportunity, finish it up. Why? Because if you keep it pending, there are chances, if you are still there, that you can still go further down. So based on that, we have been discussing the whole Chidakasha Gita. This whole retreat was basically on that. And it has been a long number of hours, continuous hours that we've been going on this. And based on that only, I'm continuing this. So there is this 268 verse which says, for Vairagya to be steady and permanent, sadhana or practice is necessary. It is by practice that we can maintain in us continuous, uninterrupted Vairagya. Uninterrupted Vairagya. Now we have been talking about uninterrupted awareness. Is the same. Uninterrupted Vairagya, uninterrupted awareness. Because if you have awareness, you can have Vairagya. You cannot have discompassion until you have awareness. If you see, I had put a post on Bhairavi, the uninterrupted awareness, that we will be doing some sadhanas or practice. How by uninterrupted awareness, the Bhairava can be attained. Uninterrupted. What we are practicing is shifting into awareness. You keep shifting into awareness. Why shifting? Because we keep on drifting. So when we drift, we have to shift. That is the effort needed. So whenever we have shifted, whenever we are in a certain state of awareness, we drop from there. So that is called as interrupted. Something is interrupting that awareness. What is that interruption? Vishaya vasanas. You can't stay for long in that awareness. Something interrupts, you come out of it. So uninterrupted awareness means that state which you can stay there, which nothing can bring you out of. And for that, that is only he is talking about Vairagya. So he is telling uninterrupted Vairagya. It is by practice alone that we can maintain in us continuous, uninterrupted Vairagya. Then he is asking, what is Vairagya? He says Vairagya is not of the body. When the mind is unwavering in all the external and internal causes and effects, then one sees the Atman. So he's asking Vairagya, he's telling Vairagya is not of the body. Why is telling not of the body? Because we have Vairagya from the body, we run away. We move this body from one place to the other. We leave the world and take this body somewhere. That is not Vairagya. Vairagya simply is telling when the mind is unwavering in all the external and internal cause and effect, cause and effects, cause and effect karma. I do one thing and it has an effect, repercussion. There is a cause for every effect. So whatever comes back to me has a reason. Something comes back to me, it has got a reason. That is a cause, due to which this I'm being affected, cause and effect. So he says, when mind is unwavering, when mind is not affected by the cause and effect, means karma. When mind is not affected by karma, in all the external and internal causes and effect, means internal karma or external karma, cause and effect, means there is no reaction. The mind is not affected. It's above all these reactions of karma, of give and take, cause and effect, that is happening outside, that is happening inside. When the mind remains steady, then one sees the Atma. So it is that time only one can see the Atma. And then he says, one can realize the Atma only by introversion. See, this is crystal clear clarity about self-realization. You cannot go on doing these practice outside. Even if you do the inside practice also, there is a practitioner there, that is the doer, and that becomes the ego. So the basic common sense is until there is ego, there cannot be self-realization. The realization of self means complete absence of ego. Forget the subtle ego. We are not even aware of our gross ego. The mind is going through so much of egoic tendencies. And I'm telling, till we have that basic egoness, we cannot be actually treading on the path. Especially when we carry this ego into the spiritual practices, like, or into the spiritual places. Like if you take your ego and go to Arunachala, if you take your ego and go to Ganeshpuri, mark my words, you are going to get a lot of kicks because you are playing with fire. Arunachala is fire, Nityananda is fire. If you think the ego is greater than this fire, then check it out, try it out. Very difficult. So sooner or later, it will be burned down. It cannot happen. So basic gross ego itself, we are not aware what kind of path are we going to walk upon. Once you become aware that humility is the path, without humility, you cannot progress even an inch. That is the first surrender of the gross ego. After that, only you can trace the subtle ego, which is the I, small I, which is hidden there. And that I can be, I'm a yogi, I'm a saint, I'm a great man, I'm the greatest sadhak, I'm a great practitioner, I'm Falana Dimkana of my great guru. Or I'm a great Mahatma, I'm a great sannyasi. That is the real battle. But it's not very amusing for me in my past, all these years I've seen. Forget that basic ego we are not aware of, gross ego. So it becomes very, very difficult for serious practitioners. We keep falling down again and again. So that is why he's saying it's about the mind remaining unwavering in all the external and internal reactions. And he says one can realize Atman only by introversion. So the first introversion is from the world, basic. Until the attention, if you have a lot of desires, if you have Vishaya vasanas too much, you cannot get introverted. You are always extroverted. We have all the people in all the retreats that I keep seeing. All retreats I've seen, cumulative. There are people who are sitting at home and introverted. Like I get so many messages. Our mind is there. Can you do a live? Can you do something? This and that. I've refused. But you can see somebody is sitting miles apart and introverted, and their mind is on this because their priority is sadhvasana. But I've also seen people who are sitting in the retreat and they think they are introverted, but they are completely extroverted. Their mind is in samsara. Until we become completely aware of this aspect, we cannot proceed further. So, introversion doesn't mean going into a cave. You can go into a cave and still be thinking about the worldly pleasures, entertainments. Somebody who's in the world, among the glamour, can be completely introverted. If somebody can be in the Himalayas and thinking about his wife and kids, somebody can be in retreats and thinking about their pets and loved ones. Somebody can be in the family and thinking about Himalaya or Kailasha or Ganesh Puri or Nityananda or whatever. Introversion is this, true introversion. He says one can only realize the Atman only and only by introversion. One should lessen one's attention on worldly things and increase that on things that is invisible. Whatever is visible is the grass, that is the outside. Whatever is not visible, attention should go more and more into that. So he says one should lessen one's attention on worldly things and increase on the things that is subtle, invisible. What is invisible? Pay attention to the invisible mind. Pay attention to the invisible koshas. Pay attention to the invisible awareness. And pay attention to the invisible Atman. Inward, subtle. For Atma to be realized, one must forget both jnana and vijnana. Means, forget jnana means knowledge that we have gathered. Vijnana means the knowledge that one has realized God. In any sense, all kind of knowledge must be left behind. The worldly knowledge and also spiritual knowledge. Only when you rise above all knowledge, because knowledge can be bondage. Like Shiva Sutra says, Jnanam Bandhanaha. Your knowledge can block you. Like I've told many times, I've seen seekers do not advance because they think they have too much of knowledge, too much of logic. So when we sit with this knowledge that we have gathered here and there is no progress. Because a mind wants to argue, a mind wants to defend, it wants to justify your own knowledge because there is a lot of pride in what I've gathered. But we see that that knowledge is a bondage to sacred wisdom. This is the first step. Worldly knowledge, whatever you have to throw it back. Your worldly beliefs, concepts, and all those things is among knowledge. So when you discard that, mind becomes empty, then this wisdom can come. Like, for example, Chidakasha Gita. Whoever is sitting with Chidakasha Gita, Upadesh Saram, Ashtavakra Gita, all these kind of Avadut Gita, these kind of knowledge, until you let go and empty your mind of your old knowledge, you cannot, because the old knowledge can be conflicting. So this new knowledge will not be accepted. There will be a fight from within. I have told before also in Arunachala retreat, knowledge when you surrender to a place, you have to shut down and be listening attentively, because you are gone to listen, to hear, not to debate, not to argue. Retreats or like Upanishads texts, these are proven texts. I'm not just reading. I've tried and tested, and then only I talk about it. Otherwise, I don't know which I have not read and experienced. I will not talk about it. So they are tried and tested. We are just translators, but there are great rishis who have worked on this. So if you feel you can argue with these texts, it is the most foolishness. So such a seeker cannot. Why they are arguing? Because there are old knowledge in that. Some gathered information which they don't want to give. So I've told this before also, like in Arunachala also, when we are doing higher texts like Upadesh Saram, and people keep objecting, I have sent them home with a full refund. Because this is not the attitude of students. This is an attitude of debater trying to prove something. They cannot learn. That is why we are very selective in our courses and retreats. So that is the first thing. Leaving the worldly knowledge so that you can have the spiritual knowledge. Once you get the spiritual knowledge, you practice that spiritual knowledge, but a time comes when you have to quit that spiritual knowledge. You got to drop that also. That is self-realization after that, because self-realization cannot have any impressions on the mind. All the impressions of the mind has to be removed. That is called nirmalman. Because only when nirmalman happens, nirmal means pure mind, no vrittis at all. Your mind should not be functioning at all. Only at that stage you will have a nischalman, still mind. You cannot still a mind. Look at the mind that is simply jumping like a monkey from here to there. All the time it's so fickle-minded. It cannot sit quiet. By it is thinking and thinking and thinking and projecting the thoughts. And Chidakasha begins after the thoughts. So those who are eligible for Chidakasha Gita and higher Gyan are only the people who have Nischal Mana. Who have Chanchal Mana, lower practice. There are other Anvopaya methods. They need to do a lot of other purification. With the mind, ego is full of impurities. That is why the man is Chanchala. So Nischalta is the essence and requirement to go further. Nishal man means nirmal man, pure of even the worldly and spiritual, both the wisdom, jnana, vijnana, everything. So that is why I say for the Atman to be realized, one must forget jnana and vijnana. Only when one knows that he is not aware that he knows, he can see the Atman. So only when you are aware that he is not aware that he knows, one can see the Atman. Beautiful. Only when one knows, but he is not aware that he knows. Beautiful. One can see the Atman. So you might be knowing, but you are not aware that you know. That means knowledge is there in you, but you are not aware that you know that knowledge. See that? Then only one can see the Atman. Then further he says, men of the highest realization are like blind men, although they have eyes. This is like Ashtavakra Gita. You might be having it, but it's not affecting you. You might be having wealth, but you're above it. Nisardat Maharaj, you might be smoking bidis, but you're above it. Body is doing it, you're above it. There are many other mystics who have had a lot of property, wealth, and stuff, but you're above it. It's there, but you're above it. You can't touch it. That can touch you. You have knowledge, wisdom, it's there, but you are not touching it. So he says, men of highest realization are like blind men, although they have eyes, like deaf men, although they have ears, Their sole attention is fixed on the one, the everlasting. So the blind and the deaf, though they have eyes and though they have ears, their attention is fixed on the one because there's nothing outside. They cannot distract. You've seen the blind and deaf, they're more aware. Why? Indriyas are cut out. Now they're depending on their awareness, intuition. You look at them, they're more focused, attentive, aware. Their sound. Look at a deaf and blind man. Now he's depending on his other senses. The sound that becomes more, a blind man is depending more on the sound to protect himself. A deaf man is more depending on his sight to protect himself. A deaf and a blind man both has to depend on his intellect awareness to guide himself. So it's a beautiful example. Such sadhus are unaware of what they do. Such mystics are not really aware of what they are doing. Why they are not aware? Because their awareness is not on what they are doing. The awareness is on the being, something higher. So then who is doing? The body is doing. It's playing out its prarabdha. When the senses are acting, they are unattached to their senses. See here, what does he say? When the senses are acting, that means all the senses are playing its game, whatever it's playing, but they are unattached to it. That means one is seeing, one is hearing, one is smelling, one is tasting, one is the touch sensation, all that is going on. But they are unattached to it. They are detached from the senses. So here what we understand, we are not talking about complete withdrawal. There's something that is running the body, but you are not attached to that. You, the Atman, is not, has nothing to do with it. So there is, you can see a split that has happened. If that split is not there, this both merge, the body and mind, or the mind and awareness, everything mix up, it feels a one entity. That is why we practice that, shifting into awareness, living in divine presence. Who's the one who's watching through the eyes? The moment you say that, who's the one who's watching through the eyes? You suddenly become aware of something inside, and the body separates itself. Like Nityananda says in the start, it is like the coconut shell, dry coconut. In that copra is there, copra. A ripe coconut becomes dry. So when it becomes dry, it detaches itself. Coconut detaches itself from the outer shell and it becomes a copra. You can hear a sound when you shake the coconut. Cut, 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 cut. See Nityananda's examples. That shell is the body, and inside that is the Atman. It's split, separated. And that's what we exactly practice in shifting into awareness about divine presence. The one who's seeing. And the body has become the coconut. And the one who's seeing that, the presence has become the copra. See how beautifully he says, this can happen only with a ripe coconut. Not an unripe coconut, because in unripe, it is attached. The body and this presence, awareness, everything is so attached that there's no two, there's just like one. It's one entity. The ego feels it's all this entity, personality. When senses are acting, they are unattached to the senses. Their action is inaction to them. So even the action is no action to them. Though the body is moving, but they are unattached to that movement. Like Buddha is moving. Buddha is Nischalman, still mind. But he's moving, walking. Angulimal is coming from behind and says, stop. And Buddha simply says, I have stopped. When are you going to stop? I have stopped when itself. What is he talking? I have stopped. Nischalman, still. My mind has become still. When are you going to stop? So you can see the body is moving, Buddha's. But he, the awareness, the presence, the mind, still. And that is so powerful that it impacts Angulimal. he also becomes still. That is when he realizes, Angulimal realizes, self-realizes, because he has the direct experience given by Buddha's presence. In them, the idea of creation is less and the idea of nothingness is more. See, in these people, the idea of creation is less, means desires. You go and create. That is very less. The idea of creation, what has already been created, Prakriti, Shrishti, the idea of that is very less, and idea of nothingness is more, emptiness. Oh, it's here already in this. Their attention is fixed not on the coconut shell, but on the kernel. Kernel is the inside part. See, their attention, their awareness is no more on the body, coconut shell, but in the presence, kernel. Power of forgetfulness is great in them. Today we discuss, right? Forgetfulness, Tirobhava nature of Shiva, Panchakritya, creation, sustenance, dissolution, forgetfulness, and grace. See, Annie, you said today your words were very good. We had a deep discussion. You said forgetfulness. So that's how we started Shiv Sutras. See here, Nityananda is saying same words. Power of forgetfulness is deep in them. What is forgetfulness? I forgot I'm Shiva. I've forgotten I'm the Atman. I'm thinking something else. So that forgetfulness is very deep in the people who are attached in the world. Their attention on the visible, on the invisible, not the visible, on God and not on things of the world, on the external supreme pleasure and not on the transient worldly pleasure. So their attention, their awareness is more on the invisible, not on the visible, what you see. On the sukshma, not on the grass, not on the stool. It is more on God and not on the things of the world. It is on the eternal supreme pleasure, the bliss of the self. It is on that. And it is not on the transient worldly pleasure. It is not on the ever changing worldly pleasures. It is on the unchanging internal pleasure. Such men are beyond both sin and merit. Rag dvesh se they are above. Papa punya se they are above. Merit and sin, Papa punya, they go above it. We have discussed this so deeply, right? Good and bad and things like that. Like Annie, you told about who's that? Umi. Umi. Yeah, right doing and wrong doing is beyond what? Right. Yeah, beyond the right doing and the wrong doing, there's a field. I shall meet you there. Yeah. Wrong doing and right doing, good and bad, papa and punya, merit and demerit, heaven and hell, morality, immorality, dharma, adharma. Beyond all this, right and wrong, there is one field that is above it. Rumi says, I shall meet you there. So he's not interested in meeting us in the right and wrong. Am I right? Am I wrong? Should I do this papa or should I not do the papa? Rumi. All these enlightened beings, God, they are not interested whether you are a dharmic or adharmic and all. When you go beyond this, you can meet them there. So Rumi can be met only there. So Rumi is telling, I shall meet you there. So if you want to meet me, he says, come up. There is one field there also. You are stuck in your right and wrong. There is one field there above it. I shall meet you there. They are quite unaware of the existence of the body and health, hence the worldly laws do not apply to them. Who? These great mystics, Gyanis, Avdutas. He's talking about them. They are quite unaware of the existence of the body. They don't have Dehabodha. They don't have body consciousness. And hence, the worldly laws do not apply to them. Because they don't have the body consciousness is the world, samsara. So because they don't have attachment to the body, they cannot be attached to the worldly, whatever laws. These worldly laws, morality, 10 commandments, all the world's stuff. If you are in the body, if you have a personality, then you are affected by all these things. So the worldly laws do not apply to them. They are like a boat in a river. Why the boat in a river? Boat, when in the river, it looks like it is attached to it. It is connected to the water. It looks like it is completely one because they're touching each other. But actually, the boat is only on the surface. It moves on the surface. It is floating. That's what I said in the start. Being in samsara and afloat through awareness. Though they are in the world enjoying all the legitimate pleasures, they are not attached to anything. Again, Ashtavakra Gita, like Raja Janaka, though he's enjoying all the legitimate pleasures, they are not attached to anything. Can anybody check what is the legitimate? देखो भाई क्या है? Illegitimate. Legitimate.
Legitimate means it's proper. It's illegitimate.
Right.
Yeah.
Moral.
Means that's a legitimate statement. That's the true state.
Oh, okay. I get. Conforming to the rules.
Yeah.
That's right. That is again in the okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So I think that's for good. One word is added. Though they are in the world enjoying all the legitimate pleasures, they are not attached to anything. See, because if the legitimate word is removed, aram se it can be misunderstood. So these people are in the world and enjoying all kind of pleasures, any kind of pleasures. Everything is okay, like There no, he's telling legitimate pleasure, the right ones. Matlab there is viveka to identify what is right and wrong. Okay. The good pleasures, actually. Because somebody can have pleasure in killing somebody also, irritating somebody also. You can take a lot of pleasure in disturbing others also. A divine process is going and you want to disturb the whole thing. That pleasure is not pleasure. That is asuri pravritti. So he's talking about legitimate pleasures, only the legal, valid ones, not legal, valid ones, good ones. Though they are in the world enjoying all the legitimate pleasures, they are not attached to anything. Just as water and boat are quite distinct, they feel the Atman and the body to be quite separate. We talked about the boat. They are indifferent to the bodily functions. Whatever bodily function, indifferent to bodily functions means whatever is happening, eating, excreting, even they don't know. See, the best example is children, babies. They are not aware of all that. Or potty kahin bhi kar dete hain. They can just, pass their motions and they are not aware of that. You can see that even in Avdutas, what they eat, drink, and all that things, they are not there. Why? Because they are not identified the bodies. They are quite indifferent to bodily functions. So bodily functions are going on, but they are indifferent to it. They enjoy the supreme bliss of God, discarding all the transient pleasures of the world. Okay. They drink only the juice of sugarcane, that is the divine bliss, and discard the outer skin, worldly pleasure. They drink only the sugarcane, that is the amrita. They have only to do with chew skin and they actually chew. So you extract only the juice and you discard the outer skin. Means the sugarcane outside. That sugarcane is talking as worldly pleasures. When a man has attained perfection in spirituality, he cannot descend again to the world like the sugar, when once manufactured, cannot be transformed again into sugarcane. So He's talking about this perfection, practice, 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 and making it perfect. So when one has attained this perfection in spirituality, he cannot descend again back into this world. See, that is attainment of that level. Once you have sustained it there, before that there will be fall. But once I said, right, shifting into awareness, dropping in again back, shifting and drifting. But then when you stabilize, it's living in awareness. When that is stabilized in spirituality, you cannot descend again to the world. And it's like the sugar, when once manufactured, cannot be transformed into sugar cane. Irreversible process. It has become sugar, it cannot go back. It cannot become a sugar cane again. Once a man realizes that he is like the Atma, the idea that he is the body never returns. That is self realization, irreversible. Once you have realized, you cannot have body consciousness again. Like an old vessel, after which the necessary repairs shines with the luster of the new, buddhi, when the vasanas are annihilated, is transformed into pure sattva quality. So he's talking like an old vessel, old vessel that is no more useful anymore. When that is polished or repaired, it shines with luster like the new. In same way, when the buddhi is polished and the buddhi shines, the vasanas are annihilated and it is transformed into pure sattva qualities. From rajas and tamas, it becomes sattva, the buddhi. Buddhi is deprived of its true nature, because buddhi is immersed in vasanas. So buddhi is not in its true nature. What is the true nature? It's a pure intellect. It can see everything. It can see the Atman. But that's the true nature. Why it is deprived? Because it is immersed in vasanas. So vasanas make the buddhi impure and dull. Manda buddhi, what we call, it is because of immersion into vasanas. When the gross is removed, buddhi attains its true pristine quality. Means when the dirt is removed, impurity is removed, ignorance is removed, buddhi goes back to its original state of clarity. Then one will have perfect contentment. It is only then you have contentment, perfect contentment. Otherwise, it's imperfect contentment. A little bit here, a little bit there, and all that worldly things. You're never having a perfect. So, perfect contentment is when the you have any questions here? I saw somebody here. Okay. So I think we almost finished everything, but it had to come and finish here. The last kuche kuche, like, is ending there. You already note kiya tha.
What do we need to?
What do you do?
Great.
Pardon?
It's great security. Every time you hear it.
Yeah. Actually, it's connecting to what we have been doing all these days,
Yeah.
and it's like concluding on that. 224. I think one more is there, 224. What's the time? 22. Oh, this is what we are reading that time, and I stopped that. I said, "Oh beggar, oh beggar, burn the delusion of the mind in the fire of yoga. Those who have not realized the Brahman do not know the truth. Brahman is the only truth." We have discussed a lot on this. That self is the only truth. Less rest other than the self, it's all untruth. So he's telling, "Oh beggar." Why is he calling beggar? Because we are begging in samsara, fulfillment. All the time begging, seeking attention, dependency, desiring. We are so dependent on this world for our satisfaction. So he's telling, "Oh beggar, Burn this delusion of the mind in the fire of yoga. Yoga means these practices where you're uniting yourself and the ego. Snail has slept over.
She's gone.
She's snoring.
She's in smile.
Samadhi, unconscious samadhi. Sushupti it is. See, she can't hear also. Oh, Vipin Bhai is here. You're supposed to go. Ah, he's gone into samadhi. So, without realization of the supreme truth, one cannot experience real joy. The real joy cannot happen without experiencing the supreme truth. Egoistic tendencies of the mind are not destroyed without realization of the self. So, whatever tendencies of the ego is there, completely it is not destroyed until the self is realized. Have the bundle of Ananda tight. Be always immersed in supreme Ananda. Bury your desire in the depth of your mind. Desire is of no avail. It is fruitless. Destroy desires internally by merging the mind in the Atman. We have talked about this again and again. With these practices, it can be done. One one four. Oh, this is wonderful. The 113 is good. What we discussed today again so many times in the retreat. God is within us, not outside us. You must experience God within us in our heart space. That is the inner space, Chidakasha, what we are telling. See, Chidakasha can be concentrated here also. The empty space, that's all. Focus on the empty space or on the whole body also. Concept doesn't matter. It's all about going into the inner space. We have an inner space and outer space, like that bottle we have told. So you concentrate first on the inner space. Inner space is what the Jivatma, it has trapped itself, thinking Atman is within me. We say, no, God is within me, Shiva is within me. We are talking that space is within me. That's all. So when you start at putting your attention on the space again and again, you realize that this space and the outer space is same. In the bottle, we are calling Atman is within me. Where is Paramatman? It is outside of me. So we say God is out of my body, and Atman is here. So I call myself Jivatman and I call that Paramatman. So that is why I keep on telling that is a macrocosm outside. This is the microcosm. Mini world, big world. So microcosm is connected to macrocosm. Both are connected. How it is connected? The same. Dakanutar.
Same.
Remove the bottle, this cap. Because of the bottle cap, I feel I is there and I say, Shiva is in me, Shiva is in me, Shiva is in me. I forget to realize that this space and that space is the same only. It is because of the bottle, it feels like there is inner space and there is outer space. So, if you don't understand that Paramatman outside, it's very difficult. You have to understand yourself first. Know thyself, know thyself, know thyself. Pindanda, that is what I'm calling as Pindanda. My universe. My universe, inside universe, what I'm saying. If you understand the Pindanda, you will understand the Brahman. So, Chidakasha is this inner space. Now I think it's more clear with that line. What is Chidakasha? Chidakasha is the inner space. So when you meditate on the inner space, you understand this inner and outer is just the same. It is because of the bottle. I create that imagination illusion that this space is different and that space is different. Forget the bottle, it's like a balloon, best. The balloon has a space inside and outside. For that, we have to break our ego. You break the ego, that is the balloon, body consciousness, but it's all one. It was always one. Only the balloon made it appear trapped. That is what I am today. I am only Shiva, but I say no. I am this personality. So if somebody goes and say, where is your God? The first ignorance is they say it's outside. First step. Anvopaya and those levels. Then people tell, no, 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 it's God is not outside, it is inside. Okay, then you start practicing it is inside. Inside, outside, same only. You see, first the people are running outside. God is in the temple, God is outside and all that. Then as you advance, you come to know, no, 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 it's not outside. God is inside. I told you that God is inside also is false. You are only that space. That is later. That is later. The second step is to, okay, understand, okay, it's not outside, it's inside. Inside, inside, inside. And this balloon has to break. What happens when the balloon breaks? See, what is the I now? Tell. Which is the I? When the balloon is there is air inside, air outside. Who's the I? What is the I here? The false I. Huh? Balloon. Balloon is the false I. It's the body consciousness. That is why it is having an illusion. But now you prick the balloon bursts. Trace nahi. Nikal gaya, toot gaya, pieces. Where is the I now?
God.
So now who's the Shiva?
Vedanta.
Where is I now? No, you are saying God is in me. That me balloon is broken now.
God is everything. Okay.
The me is gone. What remains is only God.
Yes. He's gone.
That is Aham Brahmasmi. Huh?
What remains is only after the eye is gone.
What is I here? Balloon mein? Balloon. You prick the balloon. Okay. There is I. Where is God now?
God is like,
And what is outside?
Brahman, space.
And what is inside?
Once the balloon is broken,
What is inside?
Atma. Shiva.
Why are we complicating all these things? You are saying outside is Brahman and inside is Atman. What is that Atman now? Outside is space, inside is space in the balloon. Why are we complicating with concepts? That's what I'm telling. Outside, it's very simple. Outside space, inside space. और उसमें आत्मन आ गया, ब्रह्मांड आ गया, पिंडांड आ गया, बाढ़ में गया सब. I'm talking only on 3 words here: space, balloon, God, and 4, I the ego. 4, I am there, God is there, balloon is there, space is there. I is what? Balloon. So I and balloon is one only. The other what 2 are left? God and space. They are one only.
Yeah.
So God is outside, God is inside,
Right.
isn't it? Now let's merge these two. God is inside, God is outside, and I is there. So I is broken, the balloon is broken. What remains?
It's all God.
Simple. Come on. We have to be totally attentive on this. The intellect should be so focused on this, but we are full of concept. The mind is interfering. Mind is coming in. Throw those concepts. It's very simple, right? God outside, God inside, I is there. Break the balloon. What remains? God.
Yeah. What?
That's Aham Brahmasmi. That's it. But now you say, is there someone to tell Aham Brahmasmi there? That's the thing.
No.
Think about that. Who's there? Balloon is gone. The one who's telling God is inside, God is outside, all this tandava which is going now. Balloon only is broken. Where is the one who's going to tell Aham Brahmasmi?
I'm there.
So technically, if you see that word Aham Brahmasmi also, I am Brahman.
It's a lie.
That's the thing. That is why Nityananda is telling, don't go and saying I am Brahman, I am Shiva. It creates ego in you. That that I is still there. That is the ego. See how depth he is catching it. It is like challenging even that word Aham Brahmasmi. There also there is some Aham. See, Aham only is there. Aham Brahmasmi. It should be said Brahmasmi.
Well, the front of your nine, what's the very top? Not I. Can't remember what it's scrambled.
No, I don't know. Even thou art that Tattvamasi. Thou art that. Thou who you are. You is still there. It's like
Maybe we
Asi.
should just say,
Just Asi.
maybe we should just say that.
Yeah, that. Very true.
That.
Very true. Very true. See, I am. Okay? There is I in that. So, what is the complete one in this? Tell me. Am.
Am.
Amness is the right one. Because the I is there to even say, मैं हूं, मैं हट गया हूं. वो होने का जो भाग, that होना, that is God. Oh, this is clearer. This is better example. Fantastic. To regard the stone image as God is mental delusion.
What?
Regard the stone image as God is mental delusion. पागलपंती है, भ्रांति है मन का. See, when this is understood, Nityananda is telling, if you understand this much, Chidakasha is only God. Now, where is the question of mental, what you call the stone idol, murti, images? Where does this come in? Where is the question of it? When you have understood this much, now you cannot go down into stone images and this. So Nityananda is telling this, to regard the stone image as God is mental delusion. Bhranti hai. Then he says the pain of death given by Shiva is no pain. Shiva does not do anything without a purpose. What he does is for our benefit, for our good. Hence, pain given by him cannot be regarded as pain. All sorrow is mental delusion. Anybody?
All sorrow is mental delusion.
No, the one he says here. Shiva does not, the pain of death given by Shiva is no pain. Shiva does not do anything without a purpose. What he does is for our benefit, for our good. Hence, pain given by him cannot be regarded as pain. Anybody remembers anything? No, we have talked a lot about this pain. Shaktipat. Shaktipat, grace. What is that grace? I said, as per Shiva Sutras, the first Manda Shaktipat when we get suffering. There is a Manda Shaktipat of Shiva, which is I only. I induce my own suffering. Why? Because I have to return to that nature. So the first suffering that I get is from the world. Samsara only troubles me. Samsara only gives me suffering. That suffering is what he's telling. The pain given by Shiva is not without a purpose. It has a purpose. That is what we're telling, the Tirobhava nature of Shiva. The Anugrah Shakti, which is initiating. We think it is suffering. No, it is for your ascension. Because when there is a contrast, you run in the opposite direction. I don't want suffering. So you start seeking what is better. This world is giving me trouble. Then who can give me happiness? Are you getting it?
Yeah.
So the direction is upward. So that is what he's saying, that is Shiva's grace. That's God's grace. That suffering also is brought very clearly to you. So he says, all sorrow is mental delusion. There is nothing called sorrow. I had made a video long back on that. All suffering is grace. Suffering is grace. Suffering is grace, actually. So there is no need to be averted on it. Like, for example, if you see, as I said, we have all come on this path after suffering.
Yes.
If you actually see very clearly, without suffering, you wouldn't have been here. Why would anybody come? I mean, if there is only bliss and bliss and bliss in samsara, who would even think the opposite? Because something is pricking us there only, you start moving in the opposite direction. To escape that, you are moving to where you can have freedom. So that is why he's saying all sorrow is mental delusion. We must realize the supreme bliss of God by realizing the Atman. Those whose attention is fixed on the body and on its decoration, not knowing the secret of God, follow a downward path which does not bring salvation to them in this life. Clear? So, what is he talking about? Those whose attention is fixed on the body and its decoration, the way we cover our bodies, the way we present our bodies. Why? Because it's still in the Alankar. Why we are decorating? Because we strongly believe we are the body. So we are nourishing the body, we are polishing the body. We are not going into the Atma. So he says, if those whose attention is always fixed on the body and its decoration, not knowing the secret of God, follow a downward path. So they are going into the forest road. Means they are moving towards the worldly inflictions. See, why do I decorate my body? What is the reason I decorate my body? Only two things. I want to attract or I want to be attracted to something. That's it. And that which you attract or that which you want to be attracted to, both is the word only. So that's why he's telling that is a slow downward path, which does not bring salvation to them in this life. So you can see, कट्टर ये है नित्यानंद, कट्टर वैराग्य है, harsh it is. It's like no nonsense. It's going like that. That is why people in all the paths don't talk about these things because it's complete strictness. It's like Ashtavakra Gita. What else is left? Or kya rahega isme? There is no difference among men as wise men and foolish men. Oh, he's telling there is actually no wise and foolish men. All were wise in the beginning. The present difference is only momentary. One day or the other, all will traverse the royal path to Mukti, leaving the forest path to road. So he's telling there is actually nothing called wise and foolish, or there is nothing called divine and undivine, intelligent and unintelligent, wise and unwise. Because he says all were wise in the beginning, all were pure in the beginning, all were divine in the beginning. So there is nothing. So it is due to only the present moment or present difference is only momentary. So that difference from divinity you become undivine, or from purity you have come to impurity. It is only momentary. Further, what he says, one day or the other, all will traverse on the royal road to Mukti, leaving the forest path. Kabhi na kabhi to it is going to happen. So, if one is divine and one has fallen, he says one or the other day they have to go back. There is no question of labeling anything as pure and impure. There is no difference, he says, between this. The true nature is only pure, divinity only. Because whatever you call is undivine is a temporary going and it will come back. What goes, creates, experiences come back. Original nature it will keep it returns to. Depending on the intensity of bhakti, one attains mukti. That bhakti is what I'm telling, not that devotion. It's not that God devotion and I'm praying. That's not bhakti. Here, if you go multiple verses and if you study what Bhagwan is talking about, bhakti. Bhakti means devotion to one's practice, oneself. When you have devotion to the practice, you generate love for that practice. Like when you're, for example, being aware of your whole body and all that, there is devotion to that. So you'll see there is love to that experience. That is why many of us, when we are in that experience, we are having a smile. You experience love. You experience happiness in that. That is devotion. You're being devoted to that. So that is what he's saying. Depending on the intensity of bhakti, one attains mukti. That bhava, what I'm telling. Today we were talking, right? Paravani and all that. That bhava. Based on that intensity, one will get liberation. If the intensity of our effort is high to get a good salary, then one gets a good salary. Else, if the intensity is low to get a high salary, one gets a low salary. Simple. So whatever we earn in this world, also run for a better career, better job, or better incentives, whatever, based on your intensity of the effort, you get that kind of promotions or that kind of things in life. Little effort, you don't get it. So we are talking about this practice. And that is where many of the people fail. I've often kept seeing this. Effort, very less. Half-hearted efforts. Thoda kiya, thoda choda. Sometimes you do, sometimes you leave. Then there is a big gap. And when there is problem in this world, you are very serious. Then it's like full of efforts. And suddenly everybody is doing like webinars and things and like that completely. And once life stabilizes, sab bhul gaye. No, no practice. Forget the webinar. No practice also. They leave their practice and then they're lost in that. Then again it was again they will come. So these are half-hearted efforts. In the start, what did he say? Uninterrupted Vairagya. Uninterrupted, that practice should be there. I think this almost 63 we have done already. Yes, this we have done. So this is the last one we'll take. Man must forget both knowledge and ignorance to attain the highest. It's same like what the Rumi thing again, good and bad and things like that. So actually at that point, when you go above the intellect, there is no question of wisdom and ignorance, freedom and bondage. There's no, see, when you're meditating also, these questions doesn't come there. So you have to rise even about ignorance and wisdom. Agyanta or Gyan. He must become like a child of 6 months, not knowing anything about this world.
Wow. It's
We kept talking about this, right? Become a child of 6 months, not knowing anything about this world. Like a baby of 6 months, it doesn't know anything. I told you, right? When he's born, he doesn't even know the I. The baby doesn't say even I. Think about it. The baby doesn't say you. The baby doesn't know who is who. The baby doesn't know the father and the mother. One is standing with a mustache, one is without mustache, the mother. He doesn't know what is this. What is this business about mustache and this? It doesn't know masculine.
like separation.
Yeah. It doesn't have gender identity. It doesn't even aware of its own gender, boy or girl. So he has referred many times this state to avadhutas. Men have no subtle discrimination. They think not where they have come and where they are bound. So why is comparing it to the dog? That's what we were talking about. Dogs and cats and all, they have no issues only. That Viveka problem.
They can take on stuff from the other, that's.
Yeah,
Crises and fees, like that. That's just because they're.
that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. See, even discrimination is a problem because discrimination, then you start too much of discrimination. Viveka means you start discriminating with the Hindu, Muslim, Parsi, and you go on discrimination. कुत्ते बिल्ली वो नहीं करते. Dogs and cats don't do that. They don't know only all these. Birds don't do that. So actually, this discrimination is given to us to discriminate between right and wrong and the subtle and the gross.
Yeah.
But instead of that, instead of having a subtle discrimination, we come to he's talking about subtle discrimination. Men have no subtle discrimination. Gross discrimination means you are born into Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, Indian, Pakistani, USA, Canadian, it goes on that way. So men who have no subtle discrimination, they do not think where they have come from and where they are bound. That is what we are talking about. Vivek nahi hai to we will simply keep on living our life without any understanding of where we have come from and where we are going. Kahan se aa rahe hain? There is no question. Where did I come from? We exist only in the now. You know, this attachment, what we are talking about, me, mine, my family, my possession, blah, 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 blah. It's coming because of that one thing. They don't know where they've come from. If the question goes where they've come from and where am I going, there is a expansion of that lifetime. There is one life before this, multiple life before this, multiple life after that. There is a chance. Where am I going if you start questioning? So when you question, you understand whatever people you are with or whatever things you are with, it has a past, it has a cause. This is a continuation of something. Because we don't expand this vision, we don't understand and we are attached. We only see this much. And we say this is real. This is the beginning, this is the end. This is my father, mother, husband, wife, from the start till the end. And it stops there. It began here, it stops here. That is why the attachment. They are only seeing that. But if you expand and see, we are all being playing different roles. Then you try to understand the cause and effect. मैं कहाँ से आया हूँ, कहाँ जा रहा हूँ, all these things will happen. And once you understand the karma, it's all done. I was reading something, right? Came out from there. It was 64. So he constantly compares to dogs who have no discrimination between anything. Two examples we saw. Gyanis and dogs are one and the same. He's comparing it to babies also. Okay, I think when we're done with it. I don't know which I was reading. I just missed that thing. Okay, here it is.
It sounds like there's a primal innocence.
Primal what?
Primal innocence, like
Of?
babies, dogs, animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a primal innocence.
Yes. Good word that is. Primal innocence.
Yeah.
He must be like a child of 6 months, not knowing anything about the world. The ignorance and indifference which a child betrays is of no use. It is in its natural state, acquired by it without any effort. So this is a very natural effort. It has not come to this effort. It's a surge, what has happened by birth. It has not come to that state. We must attain this state after we are fully developed. So he's telling, go back to the childlike, not childishness. Jesus talks about it. Only the children can enter the kingdom of God. So be like a child. We have some examples, right, in this retreat. Childlike people, innocent people. कौन है जया जी? वो गई, वो उधर से देख रही हूँ. I think she's live here. रूम से देख रही हूँ. डॉक्टर प्रतिभा उधर है. शायद डॉक्टर भास्कर भी है इधर. He's gone there. And Annie. He enjoyed it really. It was fun, literally fun.
That was fun.
Childlike. You are already childlike, man. So nice. I mean, it's so free. I mean, there is intense need to go deeper, but it's a serious matter, but yet it's taken very lightly. But yet it's not taken very lightly. It is not taken for granted.
Yeah, no, this is essential. It was essential.
Yes, it is not taken for granted. It's a serious matter, but it's not so serious that you become constipated. Like most of the XYZ yogis, what we see everywhere, all constipated, very serious about it. So jolly, it's like happily jumping, tossing, and then going, but not taking it for granted. Haste khelte, but you can see them, like, playing all around and laughing and things like that, but seated at one place, listening attentively, working on it. All those things are going on. That's a great thing. So he says we must attain this state after we are fully developed. A true jnani is like a child of 6 months, just like a small baby cannot distinguish between its calls of nature. So also a jnani cannot distinguish between good and bad. Just like a child cannot distinguish between its call of nature, whether it's urinating or defecating, it doesn't know all those things. It cannot differentiate of anything. Same way, jnani cannot differentiate between good and bad. One and the same. Poison and food are same to him. Meera drank the poison because they don't care about it. Even Nityananda puffed that poisonous cigarette. Whatever is offered to them, the eater has absolutely no thought about it. Means They don't have, Gyanis don't have. A Gyani is completely about the duality of the world. A Gyani does not long for anything. The avadut state. No desire absolutely for anything. No ownership of anything. No duality. When there is no duality, there is no I, no you, nothing. His thought is always well established in Atman. He is always merged in the supreme bliss of Parabrahma. So this is very clear to understand. So I think this officially we can finish off the lead. It's been nice talking. So I think last few little things were there. You guys joined here. I'll be sharing this anyways for the people who are not in India, so that you can. Anybody wants to say anything out here? The balloons in the body, the air. Okay, we are everywhere. If you want, you can raise your hand and anything there, you can ask or say. शांति प्रकाश पहुंच भी गए क्या घर पे? हाँ, इसी गांधी वाली ली थी. His camera is on. I think he's gone to Sushupti. Hey, क्या? He's there, he's there. Okay, okay, fine. Reached. See, I appreciate the dedication of all these people. I mean, hats off. I mean, we are sitting, guys, from morning 7:30 every day. 7:30 we begin the sessions, and we are going continuously. I think just lunch break once we have 1.5 hours, and then tea is here. Or we don't go out from morning 7:30. We are like sometimes 10, sometimes 11, and today it's again close to 11, and we only go to sleep and get back, and again we are on this contemplation, discussions, introspection, and everybody sharing and all these things, everything going on. Good morning. Good morning. Heavily what? What? Heavenly, heavenly. I can see that because it's heavenly. Nobody's wanting to go. It's been your world for 4 days. And the other thing is, even if there is a break, people are still wanting to connect from there, here and there. Some people, while we are doing session, they ask for, while they are going also, continuity, live. So that they don't want to miss that 2 hours also. And then here I said, this is a Zoom session going on. Still you guys are here, awake. All those who are left over here, they are still there. And those who went, they went back. Again, they are connecting from there. Some are from the rooms. Some are on their way. They are also connected. I mean, great. Been great. And here all our family members from other who are not been able to join, they are also curious. They're also enthusiastic so much. They want to be a part of it. And you guys are always part of it. Today we had little good signals. I was trying since yesterday. So I think that's enough for us. So thank you then. Nothing, I think, for you to. So this time I would like to say that we had Annie come and we had Vinod, he's inside. Then suddenly last moment, these two people just joined. Last moment, just this thing was going to start, and I don't know both of them personally. We just met and quickly they joined, and from there, Annie's here, she's sitting fully. Annie, come. She's a bright soul. I'll show you everybody. I think everybody's. I showed you. They're all here.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Here I am. Here you are. Here Jake is. You're all one.
Oh, it's been fun. It's been fun, man. This girl.
Introduce yourself.
Oh my God. Okay. She's been just fun. She's like a child. So ये बच्चे कुछ लोग हैं अभी जो यहाँ हैं. Look at them, all of them. See there. Snail just got up after a sleep, I think. Oh my God. And there, Bipin Bhai is there, the quietest man in the group. Nice. So all these three are from USA again there. Minus Sujatha there. Okay. Okay, guys. So I think I'll take a leave now. Thank you for being a part here. And rest, I'll catch up.
Yeah.
Verified. Yeah. We'll go. Yeah. And there's no time zone. Huh? Don't like. That's okay. Why? It's all a practice. It's everything is practice. So we just keep on. That's it. That's it.
Suddenly I got a bit confused because I read something else.
That's okay. Don't worry.
That's the reason.
So we have, I think next webinar is going to, this retreat is going to be in February, February, mid-February somewhere. So some of you have already signed up and hope to see you all there. Whoever is coming, most welcome. Some of them are coming from here also. So we'll see there. It's a level 1 stuff, but for us level, I think Dipti is also coming from there. Andre is coming from Canada this time there. He wants to come there. Good. Good to see you all there. Let us see there. We'll catch up there. Rest all who want to join, you can just go into shiftingintoawareness.com/events and interested, you can just sign up from there. Okay then, signing off from here, Ganesh Puri. Take care all of you. Stay blessed and Namo Nityananda. God bless you all. Bye. Jai Nityananda.